Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another VIROO webinar. This is really exciting because it's been a while since the last one. And today is a really special one. I'm not going to be not only alone. This is going to be our most crowded webinar. We have really special guests today. And the most important thing is that we are going to talk about a really, really interesting program, a really great development that has been made with VIROO and to impulse manufacturing sectors. So probably we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. So I don't want to take much time from here. So what I'm going to do basically is to show my presentation here. Let's see, is it working right now, my presentation? Can you guys hear it? Normally it should be working. Let's try that again. I'm going to share my screen. This always happens. We have tested so many times previously, but now let's see to share my screen before I want to introduce our guest today. Okay, I'm going to share with audio. There you go. This should be working. So we're going to talk about today for training for jobs that doesn't exist. This is one of the coolest projects that we have been working in because the guests are going to talk about it, but it's basically to being able to train people for jobs for places that it doesn't even exist, for factories that haven't been built, and you need to train people right before they go to the factory so they can learn how to do their job. We are going to have these really great people here at Dawson, Michael Rosas. Let me just introduce themselves. So in this case, I'm going to just highlight myself. So welcome everybody. How you're doing? First of all, of course, our guest here, our most important guest is Ed Dawson. Please, Ed Dawson, say hi and introduce yourself. Who are you, and where are you going to talk about today?
Thanks, Alberto. Hey, everyone. I'm Ed Dawson. I am a Senior Director of Innovation and Trade for Invest Windsor Essex. For anyone who doesn't know, Invest Windsor Essex is the lead economic development agency for Windsor and Essex County in Ontario, Canada. And our job really ranges from attracting companies here to the region to helping companies expand and grow and even starting small companies up. I've had the privilege of working on the innovation side and leading this amazing project called Battery Boost. So today with Michael and Anna and the team, I'm going to run you through what was involved and hopefully shed some light on this exciting project. Happy to be here.
Nice. Happy to have you as well, of course. And go ahead, Michael. Introduce yourself. Who are you, and what are we going to talk about today?
All right. Well, thank you, Alberto, for putting this together. So I'm Michael Rosas. I am president of Virtualware North America. As Ed mentioned, had the opportunity of working with him and his team on this amazing project. And this is something that we feel is a model for something new in regards to being able to utilize extended reality technology, especially for these big projects, big investments where you need massive throughput of upskilling workers. And so we're going to have a great time today going in deeper with this topic and how they were able to pull it off successfully.
Thanks again. And again, it's a pleasure to have you all here. So next is Ed Martin. Please introduce yourself. I think you're muted.
You're muted.
Yeah, that always happens.
Sorry about that. So hi, everyone. I'm Ed Martin, Chief Architect for Virtualware in North America. My background, I worked for more than 20 years in the manufacturing industry, automotive specifically. I have background in 3D design at Autodesk, real-time 3D applications at Unity before joining Virtualware last year. And I'm looking forward to the lessons that can be shared from this Battery Boost program. Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. It's always, it's not your first webinar with me. I think we've done like 2 or 3 now. It's always a pleasure to have you. And finally, we have Ana Cardenas. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hello, everybody. My name is Ana Cardenas. I'm an account success manager, and I had the privilege to be working with Ed very closely with all the Windsor Essex team, as well as with Nextar and other partners. And I was basically kind of like their point of contact throughout all the phases of the project. So once we install the technology itself, of the content creation, on the different iteration, and always responding to to their feedback and just making sure that what we were delivering was at the standards for what the program needed. So I'm coming today from that perspective and very happy to join you.
Nice. So as you can see, people are really interesting people here. A really great team to talk about our one of the most important projects we've been working on. And as always, well, I'm Alberto Carlier. I'm VIROO product advocate. My job basically is to spread the knowledge about how cool XR is and how VIROO can really change the workflows of every company in the world. And remember that always you can go to the LinkedIn chat. Just leave questions there, because as you are going to see right now in our agenda, our next steps are going to be dig into the Battery Boost program itself. Michael Onana and Ed Dawson from Windsor Essex are going to talk about it. Then we are going to switch for Ed to talk about how XR in general is changing things in this sector. And then the last part is going to be Q&A. So this is the moment that you can start asking questions here. If the question really regards to the topic that we are discussing, we can just pop it up. But if not, we can leave that to the end. So that being said, let's jump right to the Battery Boost program. Michael, Anna, and Ed, I will leave it to you, and I will be in the background. So whenever you need me to change the slides or put any video on screen, just ask me to do so. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much, Alberto. So what we were looking to do here is to keep things conversational, kind of like a fireside chat with Ed. Ed's experience with this was something that we felt could be very beneficial to people who are looking to do potentially a similar model with a project that they had. So we just wanted to have a conversation to get his viewpoint. And so what we wanted to do is to get started and maybe even just talk about the initial challenge that Ed and his team had in regards to the region. And so Ed, to get things started, Battery Boost had to prepare hundreds of workers for a job that never existed in the region yet, which is battery manufacturing at Nextar's scale. So walk us through what the challenge looked like from your seat at Windsor Essex before XR even entered the picture.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Just to start off, this was for sure probably the most exciting project that I have worked on in my career so far. It was certainly a challenge to begin with, but I was very fortunate to have an amazing team that was quick to mobilize and realize the challenge that we had at hand. Just to give everyone a background about what happened, I guess, with how the project came to be. So Nextar Energy is now known as the largest battery manufacturing facility in all of Canada and the first of its kind. Windsor Essex has always been known as the automotive capital of Canada. And subsequently, we knew that if we rested on our laurels and we didn't shift with the times, that we would be working on legacy types of manufacturing, automotive manufacturing. So we had to shift gears. So we ran with this concept of automobility, really the advanced technology that goes into the next generation of vehicles and what comes with that. And of course, with that comes electrification. And so our team at Invest Windsor Essex worked really hard with many partners at the federal level, the provincial level, the municipal level, to attract Nextar Energy here to the region. And so this was going to be a monumental opportunity for us, because we knew that we had to upskill thousands of people into a career that has not yet been created in the Windsor Essex region. And it also presented a challenge for us. How do we do that? So as the lead economic development agency, we always said, we have a white glove service approach. We don't just work on attracting the company here, but we are here every step of the way to provide the company all the opportunities, solutions, and connections that they need to succeed. And one of that, the biggest, I would argue and say, it was talent. And so for us, we saw this as these people here in the region are excellent at automotive manufacturing. And many people have not seen what manufacturing is all about. So we saw that as the opportunity to go ahead and help upskill people, especially people at the entry-level positions that may not have had an opportunity to even work in manufacturing. How do you get them into this exciting new career pathway? And so I guess, Michael, that was the first challenge that we had. So what we did is we found a funding stream, thanks to the Government of Canada through Innovation, Science, Economic Development. They had a funding partner called Pallet Skills Upskill Canada. and we applied to receive some funding. We called it Battery Boost, technical upskill program. And we were successful, but the turnaround time was very tight, just over a year and 4 months to get this thing completely, off the ground and to train over 400 participants. And so really, that's where I'll kind of leave it there, Michael, because I think that's where the story is really going to take off here.
Yeah. So, I mean, we understand it, and thank you so much for giving that very thorough explanation and sort of setting up what that opportunity was and ultimately what the challenge was for your region in regards to making sure that the talent was there from day one, from when that facility opened. And so moving on to the next one in regards to like even now that obviously you had sort of a vehicle or an opportunity to be able to get something in motion to start to train people. Tell us a little bit about your thought process in deciding that XR was one of the tools that you would use to solve this. Like, what made you confident that this could work at this scale?
Absolutely. I think, part of the benefit that we had, my team, we have the Automobility and Innovation Center, and we were running a pretty robust program here prior. And that's the relationship that we started with VirtualWare. So we had the VR Cave, which was Canada's largest publicly accessible VR cave used for advanced simulation and virtual reality. So it was really the relationship that we started previous to the Battery Boost program with Michael, Anna, and the team to say, how do we make this VR cave as part of this amazing VIROO ecosystem? And so that journey really kicked this off in saying, we believe in simulation, we believe in extended reality, and we believe the power of using this now in this use case to be able to train people in something that they've never seen. So as they are building this new battery plant, we were then able to say we can simulate and visualize and have people in extended reality to be able to experience things that they're not yet able to experience in real life. And so it was really an augmented approach to be able to help these participants. And so, I've been a long believer in the power of extended reality. My team has long been believers in XR. And this image behind us, that was the newest addition right next to the VR cave, and that was the VIROO room. So we had 8 headsets essentially, and the VR cave became the command center. And it was such an amazing, facility to be able to facilitate this program in. And so I think, Michael, we've long seen the benefits of XR in action here.
Yeah, and I think it's a good example of how you guys had already adopted and understood extended reality, and this is sort of that next phase where you were able to scale it to be able to deliver on a program like this. And so, I think that's sort of, let's just say, the unique aspect of this particular program. But ultimately, it's one that really could meet the needs. And even when talking about these kinds of things, we know that health and safety was a major piece from this, and in regards to letting people experience the risks and functionality of the facility. And so I think that something like to see this in practice, maybe even from your perspective, because this would be hard to do in traditional methods, but that capability of being able to put people within a digital twin version of the factory and really make sure that they could potentially fail safely in a virtual environment so they can succeed in a physical one. Tell us a little bit about that and being able to see this in practice, because this is definitely part of I guess, that value proposition of why extended reality could be something that could really be helpful for upskilling these workers.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, just to kind of give the audience, some perspective on really what sold the program to the funding partners was that this is a very unique approach. It's not just traditional classroom learning. It was a 4-week intensive program. It was industry led. So we had to bring all these entities and partners together to come up with the curriculum and the knowledge base and how it would really unfold. And so you went from Nextar being able to deliver this confidential, really proprietary type of information, but also giving us the opportunity to bring in the extended reality. So going from a traditional classroom learning to e-modules to simulation training that was on their equipment, to then moving to how do we bring in extended reality to help bring this all together, make it interactive, make it exciting. And the XR really morphed into health and safety type of training. So like Michael said, it was really creating a virtual twin of the plant floor, a certain section of it, and then being able to run scenarios that would potentially likely exist in a person's career. And anyone who knows anything about battery manufacturing is that, you know, it does, you know, work with, of course, chemicals and volatile situations potentially. And so, you know, maintaining safety is mission critical for any employee. And so some of the scenarios that we were able to come up with and the team at VirtualWare were able to create and model, for example, were different sizes of fires and how to put out these fires, for example, or a chemical spill and how to react to a chemical spill. And, you know, as we're talking about XR, the wonderful thing was you can fail safely and quickly and repeat. And it gave people and the participants the confidence to know, you know, what they're going to experience, so that God forbid that they do experience this in real life one day when they're on the plant floor, then they'll hopefully their training should kick in and they'll remember what they experienced in XR. So it was a really neat approach. I called it the circuit. And the extended reality was what got people out of their seats, what got them into moving around and excited and have a little bit of fun in their training journey.
Yeah, and I think one aspect that was very important and key to this program was that everything was happening in one centralized training center that really allowed for all these different spaces to be connected and kind of like have like a coherent flow to the training, right? So you have like the lectures, you have also like the simulations, and then you have kind of like the dedicated VR lab. From my understanding on the curriculum perspective, there was even like that dynamic of even adjusting some of the lectures particular to the participants. So I think like that was very strategic into how everything come together. I don't know what is your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what the beauty of the program was. You know, there was certainly some flexibility and some pivoting that was able to take place. And, you know, we all know that when it comes to learning and development, everyone's learning style and journey is a little bit different. And what was great about this program is that, you know, some people really were able to excel more so in an interactive virtual environment, and you can really tell those people, and those participants almost became like, you know, teachers or trainers themselves to the other participants that might have been a little bit hesitant at the beginning. And so, you know, just the approach of what we did for this program was a 4-week, you know, intensive program. And I think it was just really neat to see everyone come together and make it as interactive as possible, so that you're not just sitting in a chair listening to somebody like a traditional classroom method, because we all know that, you know, workers now and into the future, the modality of learning is not going to be conducive to the old traditional style of learning. And that's where XR really shines.
Yeah, I agree. And to wrap things up there, like to be able to have an example of a balanced approach in regards to learning, and, you know, still having that theory element and those practical elements, but then sort of like that ability to go into a virtual reality environment and practice essentially what you've learned. I think that this is what, like you mentioned, Ed, this is where that next phase of learning is going. And so it was really great that you guys were able to do it all in one location. Moving on, in regards to scaling through this type of scenario, we know that one of the constraints, obviously, you were solving for is throughput, because you needed to bring in large cohorts, not just individuals. So just tell us a little bit about how that the VIROO Immersive Room changed what was possible there, because we know that, you know, the program in the end ended up training over 400 participants that ended up going on to be successful and being placed in jobs. So you know, tell us how you were able to with the room be able to achieve that.
Yeah, definitely. Just to celebrate the final milestones of the program, you know, we did achieve 452 people through the program. and we had committed to 400. So we far surpassed our metrics. And I think that what happened was we realized pretty quickly that using XR and using the simulation, we knew what participants were able to excel at and how different people learned. And I think that the instructors, the team from Nextar, our team, and the team from VirtualWare, we were able to make things and adjust on the go for the learners and what they needed. And so some people needed more e-learning time, some people needed more simulation time, but going to the XR side, a lot of people really enjoyed the extended reality and going through the health and safety in the modules. And I think that it was just a bit of a reward in many senses for the participants as well, to be able to find their way into the VR room, the VIROO room, and to be able to learn a little bit more and have some fun while they're learning. So it helped us move things a lot quicker.
Excellent. So I know, Anna, you had some questions in regards to the trainee experience. Maybe we can bring that up now.
Yeah, sure. And even like maybe because we were showing like the metrics and the highlights, but I was actually reading this morning a little bit about like what is kind of like the average that apprenticeship programs have in Canada, kind of like to have like a reference. And something that really struck me was that according to Statistics Canada, only 36% of apprentices complete the certification, even when they are given extended times, and only 16 completed within the time that is dedicated for these programs. And there is a large 20% that unfortunately leave the programs entirely. So I think like just that comparison with some of the metrics that the battery boosts deliver are really something to be proud of. And I think it's obviously like a Canadian model example that is easily replicated in other regions.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so now going more on the experience side and on the training side. And I'm very curious to know, what did you hear directly from the trainers, the instructors, of adding this like XR layer to this program?
Yeah, for sure. And we had a lot of positive feedback from the program as a whole, obviously. And just thinking of we had exit surveys that would happen. I know we have something on the screen from one of the participants, Rob. I think that what we found, any of the participants that ended up being hired to work at Nextar Energy, and that was the ultimate goal for many of the people in the program, was that they were far more well-trained and ready to tackle the work than people that had not gone through battery boost, for example. And so a layer of obviously the training and the extended reality, that was certainly helpful. It prepared them for even finding scenarios as they're walking the floor, because it was really everyone's responsibility in the culture that's created to find things that are dangerous and to correct them themselves. And so this way of thinking that they were able to develop by doing these modules, for example, they took with them to the floor, and then the supervisors were noting that a lot of these participants were able to point things out and find things that were dangerous that others might have missed. And I heard that, and I think that was really exciting to hear.
Yeah, and all this while practicing in the real blueprint of the facility that was still under construction. So I think that's something like very interesting. And did you notice any difference in confidence or readiness among the people that participate, like from when they start the cohorts, kind of like when they were like finalizing their process?
Yeah, definitely. We heard a lot of those, really positive, stories and feedback about that. If they had not gone through battery boost, they weren't sure that this was the type of job or work that they wanted to get into, and that they wouldn't feel confident, because for many people, these are very technical roles, and running these highly automated pieces of machinery and equipment required a lot of knowledge. And having this 4 weeks of intensive training, technical training, prepared them. And so I think that we should all be very proud that something like this should serve as a model, that if you're able to bring the right people together with the right content and add the element of interactive training, that the participants should be very confident that when they enter their actual jobs, that they're ready to work and they know what to expect. So I think it was really, really positive overall.
Perfect.
Excellent.
So I think now we can hear about Nextar itself. So Alberto, if you can please maybe
sure.
play
Let's
a
do
little
that.
clip from them.
Let's do that. Sorry about that. There you go.
Battery Boost program is a training partnership specifically to train people in the new developing field of EV battery manufacturing. This stems from the introduction of our manufacturing footprint in Ontario with Nextar Energy and the need for a large workforce to staff this manufacturing facility.
Once they're hitting the floor, they are like, oh, I saw that in the VR, I saw that in the simulator. So pretty much you have the first-hand knowledge of the area where you're going to work without actually being there.
Sure. We're giving our employees the best opportunity to be successful and for Nextar Energy to be successful.
Everybody has a positive attitude about the battery boost, and they are really like surprised how good it is and how much information it is, but in a nice way that they can learn it.
I think this program was, so successful because of this collaboration with all our partners. And I think that was a lot of effort by all partners, internal and NSC and all our external partners that made this so successful.
Okay, so I don't know if you there are people seeing the webinar. I don't know about the people that are seeing right now. Again, I think when I know more about this project, I'm more excited because of course training is one of the most obvious use cases for XR. I always say that when I'm giving demos to our clients, I start learning how to do the work processes of our own clients without even have to look at a video or a PDF or anything about it, and being able to be trained for jobs that doesn't exist. Again, it really blows my mind. I really love XR, but being applied in this kind of way, I think it's really interesting. So if you don't have, guys, anything else, we can jump right with it. Or do you still want to say one last thing before jumping to it? Or should you...
If we could just get one last sort of reflection, sort of advice from Ed. If another region or organization were facing a similar problem, like a brand new industry, a tight timeline, a need to train at scale, would you recommend they look at XR, Ed, and why?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm a huge believer in XR because we've lived it and we've seen it in action, Michael. I think that this is a way to make things move a lot faster. And for anyone I'm sure many of you who are, the audience today have used XR or familiar with XR VR. And I think the power of it is to replicate and create a virtual twin of something as realistic as possible. And that's the power of the VIROO platform and the work that VirtualWare has done, is that when the participants were using the XR, it didn't look like it wasn't real life, essentially. It mimicked what they were actually going to see. And I think that's what I was most excited about. So I would highly recommend that as part of the curriculum, as part of program development, especially for rapid upskilling, that VR, XR especially has to be part of the work that is being used to tackle the problem.
Excellent. Well, thank you for those words, Ed, and it was a pleasure working with you on that project. Well, we've definitely had an opportunity at least to talk about it, so I know we're going to move on to now Ed to just do a little bit of a shift now. I'll let Alberto introduce the next segment, so thank you.
Yeah, sure. So as I was saying before, let me unhide my presentation here. We are going to talk about with Ed about, I don't know, we're not seeing the updated version of the presentation here. Let me share it again, the screen, because I think it was stuck in the video. There you go. Share again. and then the next step. Okay, so we're going to talk about how XR is changing things in manufacturing. And we call that the XR shift. And Ed is going to make a deep dive inside this. We already have a question in the chat, but I think we are going to leave that at the end. So Ed, feel free to take it from here and ask me if you want me to move the slides or whatever you need. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alberto, and thank you, Ed and Michael and Anna. So I think there are some important lessons to take from this. First of all, the statistics from the Battery Boost program just alone tell the story. I mean, really, it's very successful in terms of the efficacy of training. The one stat that stuck out to me was 96% of people would essentially rated this positively. 95% of people would recommend it to others. It's hard nowadays to get 90% of people to agree on anything. So that's really outstanding success. You know that something works well when you get that kind of rating. So, really the question then is why and how can customers go about achieving other customers beyond just battery manufacturing achieve some of the same results. So one of the things that we've seen is that increasingly manufacturers are augmenting their traditional workforce learning approaches with digital solutions, and they're coupling those with physical solutions. In some cases, they're using the digital solutions to replace the physical solutions, and in some cases, they're using them to complement or augment the physical solutions. So you've got, on-the-job instructor-led type learning, learning management systems, and conventional CBT, e-learning, computer-based training, physical labs, lectures, of course. But then on the digital side, you have technologies like artificial intelligence, which has tremendous potential here. Virtual and immersive simulation, as you saw a bit of that in the Battery Boost presentation, and digital twins. This hybrid approach, by coupling the digital with the physical, really can help manufacturers get the best of both worlds, because there are things that you want to do physically that involve, really fine tactile sensations and things like that are difficult to replicate at scale digitally. There are certainly things you can do digitally that you can't do physically. So the digital capabilities give you this ability to have hands-on interactive learning, even if you don't have the equipment in your hands to learn with. It's virtual equipment. You've got fidelity comparable to real world, or sufficiently comparable. You can update the training relatively easily. You've got an archive of prior training, and the most important thing is the scalability. There are downsides to the physical approach, but there are upsides as well. Let's move on to the next slide.
Yep, let's do that.
So why is this important to manufacturers? Well, first of all, just the bottom line, there is a skills gap, and addressing that skills gap is a critical issue for manufacturers in North America. It's not just North America, it's Europe, it's Asia, it's everywhere. But specifically, just talking to the US, even though I know Battery Boost is a Canadian project, that in the US alone, Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute estimated that there will be 3.8 million people hired into manufacturing jobs, and half of those are going to go unfilled due to a lack of qualified candidates. So almost 2 million jobs going missing because people don't have the requisite skills. Compounding that, companies are rapidly losing skills due to retirement. Roughly 1/4 of manufacturing workers in the US are aged 55 or older, according to US Bureau of Labor Statistics. And this was, Ed Dawson hit on this a bit, and Michael did as well, in terms of the nature of experiential learning. This is especially true with generations younger than me. So like Gen Z employees and Gen Alpha, you pick whatever cohort you want, strongly prefer experiential learning over lecture-based instruction. They're 3 times more likely to stay in a job if they feel they're acquiring the skills they need. And this nature of experiential learning, where you're interacting with the learning experience as opposed to just passively absorbing a learning experience, really accelerates both the rate that someone acquires knowledge, but also the retention of that knowledge, which is important. And as a proof of that, PwC in a recent study documented that XR learners complete training 4 times faster than traditional lecture-based classroom learners and are almost 300% more confident in applying their skills. That's huge. I mean, the numbers are overwhelming in reality. So, okay, we talked about this issue of a hybrid solution with digital coupled with physical learning. We talked about why it's important to manufacturers. Well, where should you look at these types of solutions? So if we move to the next slide, please. There are really 4 criteria that determine the fit for XR-based training solutions. And it's not that you don't have to hit all of these criteria. There's not an absolute set of metrics to follow, but these are guidelines. And I would say if you even hit 2 of these, then you really should seriously look at XR training. Or if one of them, say high consequence training, which I'll get into, is just so overwhelmingly important, even without the other 3, it may make sense. So let's briefly talk about those. So first is high consequence tasks. If the thing that you are training people for has a significant risk of injury, death, major financial or reputational damage, then you want to really consider XR-based training. So virtual training, it provides effective training with high retention, and you provide confidence in the learners so that they can then move on from the virtual training to the physical with much greater confidence and much reduced risk. So that's important. Nuclear projects, anything involving, high risk manufacturing processes. This is critical. Caustic substances, exposure to extreme temperatures, you name it. The second one is if conventional hands-on training is capacity constrained due to limited or unavailable equipment, infrastructure, or instructors. So maybe you've got a training center with a training rig of some sort that people can physically train on, but you have only got one of them, and it may not be where you have the people that you want to train. It could be halfway around the world. There's also often an economic factor here due to hiring instructors, the cost of the equipment to be trained upon. And so by using virtual training, you can think of it as an amplifier or an accelerator where you can, at the top of the funnel, train people virtually and then bring them down and do the final training on a physical piece of equipment. There are hybrid solutions there as well. The scale and complexity of training are large. So if you're putting a large cognitive load on the trainee, it's more important to have experiential learning in that case, because the difficulty for someone to absorb the lessons they need to know in a conventional lecture-based format, it just does not work if you've got something that's highly complex and interactive. And then if we go back to the slide, the final one is if there's a need for measurable results and you need insight into why and where trainees face difficulty in learning, this is a valuable feedback mechanism into the training program itself, so you can adopt a kind of a Kaizen or continuous improvement approach to your training, where you find out where does the training work, where does it not work, because you can instrument the virtual training experience. Now all of a sudden you have access to all of this data that is incredibly rich and valuable. And then finally, on the last slide, you really also should look at this as something beyond XR training. And some of this certainly would involve VIROO. Not all of it would involve VIROO, but really it's kind of taking a life cycle thinking approach to how you're leveraging this data. First of all, think life cycle, not one-off project. So, you have a managed 3D asset pipeline. You're managing change control and approvals and such. You can feed that into training, where you've got the 3D content that's fed into the training activities. You can feed into design review. You can feed into virtual commissioning. You can feed into operation support. There are a lot of different ways that you can use that data. You can reuse valuable assets that you already have: CAD data, BIM data, plant scans, simulation models, you name it. There's a lot of information that you can bring in. It's not just geometry. And then emphasizing that point, on it's not just geometry. You can combine multi-source 3D data with emulation and simulation. So you can train against behavior, not just geometry. So you can have another virtualware product that we're not talking about in depth in this webinar, but Simumatic, which is a machine controls emulation platform. You can combine that in with VIROO so that you can have a person training, and what they're training on, is a virtual machine that is reacting just like the real world machine would. So you can embed very complex logic, and you can validate the machines working the way it is. You can validate that people are working the way they are, and you can validate that the machines and people are working together in the way they need to, which is not a simple task, because anyone who has ever gone through a manufacturing startup with automated equipment can tell you. So there is tremendous value here by taking a life cycle approach. And of course, how do you pick those projects? Classic project selection, you have to look at, feasibility and fit and economics and such. But the good thing is the potential is there. And once you have that data, and once you're using that data, you can more easily leverage it for other valuable use cases for your enterprise. So I don't know, Ed, if any of that resonates with your experience with the battery training, the battery boost program, but this is something both in my experience working in manufacturing and my experience working with manufacturers, I've found these things to be true.
Definitely. No, I'll just add one quick perspective from my end. Great presentation, Ed. I think that all that resonates really true, and I think we experienced it firsthand in the Battery Boost program. And just the knowledge retention, as you were saying, and what they expected. Hands-on training, virtual hands-on training is what really set them up for success. And if we had people from Nextar on, I think they would certainly concur with that.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you saying that. And it really kind of gets to the point of the economic value of this, because the ultimate objective of training people is knowledge retention. And right. The more effective you have knowledge, more effective knowledge retention you have, the more, quote unquote, bang for the buck that you're getting out of your training program. So if you're investing money in training, you want to make sure it's efficient. And this is a good way to make it efficient. All right, so I think, Alberto, I'll turn it back to you, and we have an opportunity to have people ask questions, I believe.
Exactly. We're almost approaching the end of the webinar. Really interesting again. I'm really excited about how XR is changing training, but we even haven't discussed, maybe this is for a next webinar, how it's going to also change workflow itself when we have like smaller headset or glasses that not only serves for training but also for remote assistance while you are actually making the job. That is going to be a whole new deal, but now we're focusing on training people before actually performing the job, and then we can even help them when we have better devices. That's definitely coming in the future. So now, as Ed said, we have like a small spot for questions and answers. I have like 2-3 comments in the LinkedIn. The first question was from Alejandro Marchena. He says, is there a VIROO room or a virtualware facility in the Quebec region? I said that I don't think we have. I don't think we have that, right? Yeah, we would love to. So I don't know, Alejandro, if you have any need in your company and you want to train.
But maybe to answer Alejandro, we are always looking for those opportunities. We partner with education, as well as with training centers, or even like sometimes like these big corporations, they also need this to have it available in-house. So we work to all those scenarios. So definitely like, let's find the best way to have one of these in Quebec.
Yeah, there's definitely opportunities. There's a lot of big projects happening in Quebec as well too. And so I think the opportunities are there. It's just now a matter of aligning with people's needs. And at least now, I think with this explanation or webinar and the model that essentially Ed and the IWE team have built, at least it's something that people don't have to do kind of going in blind. They could see something that has already been successful and can potentially be can be used as a base, as a foundation to build out something in your own region. So, we definitely are always open to people in regards to reaching out if they have any ideas or something similar that they're looking into, for us to be able to share our knowledge and resources. And even Ed, has been absolutely amazing in regards to obviously being here and sharing his point of view, because we do think that there is a lot of opportunity to help in regards to some of the challenges that we have in our economy and our workforce development. We're one piece, but we can definitely use this model as a foundation to help others. So whether in Quebec or anywhere, any other province in Canada or in the US, we're always open to any kind of feedback or people reaching out to us.
Yeah, regarding opportunity, Alejandro itself left another comment where he was from a moment later in the webinar. He says, wow, amazing. This could be a big opportunity for the manufacturer and AEC sector. So he's really excited about it, as we are also. And then the last comment we have is, this was from Ed Spar, where he was showing all the graphics. And she asked, Abby Sturley says, is this study available publicly? Do you know, guys, if there's a link that she can see where all this data is coming from?
Yeah, I guess the question would be which study, but the short answer is all of these are publicly available statistics. So all the Deloitte Manufacturing Institute, obviously the Bureau of Labor Statistics is public, the McKinsey, Deloitte examples, and the PwC are all public studies. And Abby, if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, I can get those to you as well. So directly, I can send them directly to you.
And then regarding if there's any interest in regards to the Battery Boost program, we put a use case on our website. I believe, Ed, potentially you guys have some resources as well too that you've publicly published. Is that correct? Ed Dawson?
Yeah, we don't have a formal study, Michael, but yeah, these are all parts and from what we did reporting for the pilot program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was a federally funded program that has made those public, and so these are our public numbers that have gone through in regards to being able to deliver on a federally funded program.
Great.
Nice. So thanks everybody, guys. I think we've made it on time. Again, thanks everyone for coming. I think this was one of our most interesting webinars yet. Feel free to reach us, as Michael said, on LinkedIn. If you want, you can go to the VIROO website. It's viro.virtualwareco.com. You can find everything what VIROO can provide to your organization there. And of course, follow us because more webinars are coming right after the holidays. Really good, interesting stuff coming before the end of the year. So again, thanks both Eds to be joining here today, Michael, Anna. And as always, thanks everybody for being commenting in LinkedIn and following us. And we will see you right in the next webinar in the upcoming months. Thanks everyone. And it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care, everybody.